Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you game 1 in a series between Mana and Hyun here on Neoplanet SLE. I don't really know the difference between all the different types of Neoplanet S, but let's go ahead and jump into the game. In the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have Mana spawning as the blue Protoss. Meanwhile, over here on the top right-hand side of the map, we have Hyun spawning as the red Zerg. Zerg versus Protoss in this 1v1 matchup. And Neoplanet S, a map that's been part of the map pool for quite some time, at least in the beta. And I expect both of these players to have very, very defined build orders. Now, this is a map that's generally not favorable for Zerg. The reason being, the third base is a little bit out of the way. You can see that the third base is off over here. It's very close by air, but not very close by ground. If Zerg players really want to be able to expand there quickly, they will most likely place down creep tumors here, and then place creep tumor here, and then start to push it together so that they can get a third base here in just a second, and we'll see how all of that works out. So far, we do see a probe now currently mining inside the base of Hyun, doing a little bit of annoyance, and trying to scout out as much as he can. So far, we are going to be going into that early spawning pool, and one of the things that I wanted to note is that there is actually a lot of room behind the mineral patches here. This is something where on a lot of the other maps, one building is enough to kind of make sure that no units can run around the back. Neoplanet S, the minerals are moved over just enough so that Zerglings and Zealots and other units can land behind here fairly quickly. And it really opens up the base just a bit more, as one building is not enough to completely wall off the section. Now you can see Mana is going for a Nexus first here. The Forge should be coming in shortly, and is Hyun going to spot the Forge? He will spot the Forge, but he is also going to spot this Nexus. Nexus is already about 30% completed. Excuse me, now 30% completed. And you're just going to see that this Nexus will be up in time. I am curious as to how the entire layout of this front door will be. Perhaps another pylon here, or is there just enough room here? I can't quite tell where that opening is on that front door, as Zerglings are now starting to do their early scouting. Following that Nexus, we can see a hatchery has been placed down. The photon cannon is already being warped in. It does take a little bit of time to complete. You can see that it is about 25 seconds away. Meanwhile, the Zerglings are rapidly trying to get there before that photon cannon is done. And the probe is just going to be like, you know what? I'm going to put myself in harm's way. That probe will get taken down. Oh, he doesn't. He is actually going to be able to juke around just a bit. And that is going to be really interesting. All right, let's see if he's going to be able to make it in. Oh, he does make it in now. And now we are going to perhaps see a Zealot being warped in as well. So the probe just going to head back, perhaps mine some more minerals. Nope, just do a little bit more scouting, as we do see the third base coming in from Hyun. Now, this is a bit of a risky maneuver. If Mana does place down a proxy pylon here, he will be able to warp in and reinforce and place down a lot of pressure on this hatchery. And without metabolic boost, it is going to be a little bit difficult to actually get Zerglings here in time. You can see that creep tumors are trying to be spread. Oh, the probe is already down to 2 hit points. One more hit, and that will do it. And there it goes. So it does get the necessary scouting off. But first blood for Hyun. Following this up, 29 probes versus 25 drones. However, the Zerg engine is now starting to run up, as we see a queen now being added here. No creep tumors off over here as I originally expected, so the creep spread is going to take a bit of time getting from this side to this side. The queen is going to walk its way over and start injecting some larvae at this hatchery, trying to get that production up. Meanwhile, Mana's main goal will be to try and place down some harassment pressure. If the Zerg player is able to freely drone up and get his economy established from the 6 to about 11-minute mark, very easily will Hyun be able to get up to 200 food by the 14 to 16 mark. You cannot let a Zerg player do that, even though the majority of that of that army is going to be in roaches. The roaches are very, very deadly because of their high amount of health. We are now taking a look into a Roach Warren at the natural expansion. Meanwhile, we are going into a Stargate play, and Mana doing his best job of trying to hide this Stargate. Oh, what is this? Mana does not spot this Overlord in time. Hyun is going to spot the Stargate, and will he be going into Hydralisk? That is going to be the key question. Hyun has to have clicked there, as we now see the Mothership Core coming in with a bit of harassment. Oh, Hyun going to be losing one drone, if not more. This could be bad, as a Queen now coming over to engage. The Queen, the Mothership Core now trying to back away. The Mothership Core does move relatively slowly, and the Queen getting off some easy shots with those darts, and that Mothership Core has taken some critical damage. Down to 72 hit points. Those shields will recharge, however, and once the Mothership Core is back home, should be able to play a very strong defensive game, as the Zerglings look like they wanted to test the waters. Would not have been a very, very good call. Alright, apparently the Mothership Core, one of the only units in the Protoss Air Army that can't attack while moving. And we're going to see that Mothership Core continuing to chase all of those Zerglings around. Roaches still standing down over here. And what is going on? Mothership Core, Roaches still starting to just scour the map. Harvester count is at 46 drones to 47 probes. I am surprised that Hyun doesn't have a much larger economy, but because he's going off of a 3-base Roach push, I don't know if Mana is going to be able to stop this in time. Here we go. The Roaches are now just going to try to attack their way through. They just need to get some easy damage. And is it going to be enough? They are just pushing their way through here. Mothership Core has arrived. The Photon Overcharge, that range 13 cannon, dealing so much damage, and Hyun throwing everything at this front wall only to get destroyed. And this is not going well for Hyun at all. Too many force fields, and that Photon Overcharge adding in some additional damage as well. 5 kills for the Nexus, as we now see the Mothership Core making a move out once more. Alright, getting off some easy shots onto that Roach Zergling army. Is he going to get a kill on a Roach? Yes, he does. And that Mothership Core has paid in spades, as now Hyun needs to figure out what his follow-up plan will be. Follow-up plan does seem to be very, very strong amounts of drones. You can see that there's no gas yet in the main base. All of the gas has been at the natural, and this has been a little bit of a surprise. Mana really just held off that attack extremely well, and now Hyun is trying to push back, or will be trying to push back against this very, very large gateway army. Is it going to be enough, though, as Mana now reinforcing with Stalkers, warping in underneath that warp prism, does have a good composition of zealots and sentries. Drones now making their way here. Oversaturation at the third base, and that's not what you want to see. Meanwhile, Zerglings now pushing through on that front door. No Photon Overcharge, and this is going to turn into a base race. Drones have nowhere to run, and with 24 drones, or 28 drones pretty much going to be lost here, this is going to be a bad sign. Meanwhile, the Roaches are still trying to engage. Is enough damage going to be dealt? That Roach down to 6 hit points does micro back. The hatchery has fallen, and who has lost more workers? Hyun hasn't lost that many, but then again, there's a lot of drones hiding off over here, and those will get picked off in just a little bit. Pylons now getting taken down. What's going to be happening here is the probes are now engaging. Meanwhile, another army engaging here as a beautiful force field on the ramp, preventing a lot of the units from returning home onto that high ground. This is not looking good for Hyun. There is a good number of spine crawlers. Are the drones going to be able to make it up? Drones now, where are they going next? They're going to try to make their way back up the ramp again. No ramp on the no force field on the ramp once more. And this does come as a bit of a surprise, as all the units are now retreating. Who is going to deal more damage first? Simply too many warp gates. I think that Mana will be able to reinforce and handle all of these Roaches pretty easily, as we still see them engaging and attacking. The Roaches, however, are kiting these units, taking down sentry after sentry. Stalkers are now coming out. The main majority of the forces now finally returning. Is it going to be enough, as the Roaches are trying to actually engage and get in some economic damage? We are now at 2 bases to 1, as Hyung's forces will get cleaned up. Mana sitting on about a 25 supply advantage. He is down in workers, but he does have an additional nexus, meaning less diminishing returns. Alright, Hyun sitting on 44 drones here. This is not looking good at all. This is not the player that I was expecting to see in this matchup, as we now see more and more creep tumors being placed down. You can see a new hatchery here. Creep tumors will start to spread. Perhaps getting some creep over here as well would be a very, very smart call in order to get a little bit of extra defense. Stalkers, zealots, roaches, zerglings, all looking to engage. You can see the army composition, how much larger Mana is at this point, and whether or not we're going to see spine crawlers here is a very key question. Another front door, photon cannons. Zerglings going to be able to sneak through. Here we go. The Zerglings now inside. The Zerglings unable to engage. Perhaps they're going to take down one of those, the forge, but the photon cannons there are going to reinforce. The Nexus the hatchery once again has been sniped down. And Hyun, sitting behind 6 spine crawlers, is not going to win him the game. Zealots now looking to get dropped off by that warp prism. The Queens, however, going to make short work there, as you can see. Already Stalkers warping in. Zealots coming in here. Is that warp prism? Yes, it will get shot down. As we see Stalkers and Zealots engaging, this is not a good spot for Mana to be in. But Mana is just putting down more pressure than I believe Hyun is able to take. Alright, Larva with so much armor, able to withstand so much damage from those Stalkers. Roach Warden will bleed to death. Maybe these Extractors will get taken down as well. And all Mana needs to do at this stage is place force fields on the ramp, not allow Hyun to come down, and then win with Colossi and that extended thermal lance range. Robotics Bay now coming online. We'll see if the extended thermal lance range will be coming in shortly. Overseer now making a way inside, and we are gonna most likely have a corruption or contamination on something. Is he gonna contaminate anything? Yes, he does contaminate the Nexus. There's another contamination there, and unable to train up probes, unable to oh, there we go. Probes are now able to be trained. Observer currently getting stuck. And this is just going to be a very slow, painful death for Hyun. Hyun trying to stay in this off of one base. His income, half of his opponents now. And Mana just perhaps wondering why Hyun is still staying in this game, as am I. Just sometimes you gotta lick your wounds and face the fact that you lost the game and move on to game 2. Alright, if Hyun somehow pulls off a miraculous win, I will have to study this replay and figure it out. You can see Nidus Network coming online. Is there actually a place for the Nidus Worm to pop out and not be spotted? I don't see Overlord's vision of Hyun is rather limited, or for Hyun is rather limited. He's not going to be able to spot anywhere, and if he's not careful with that Nidus Network, he may actually pop it right next to a photon cannon that's just outside of sight range. Zerglings engaging, gonna be able to get off in an efficient trade here, taking down a couple of units here, and oh, a beautiful strategy, but Mana perhaps realizing that a Nidus Worm was going to be coming out. Hyun was hoping to actually flank out his opponent, and that just didn't work. He wanted to flank his opponent by getting them out of position, and here we go. Zerglings and Hydralisks all going to be engaging here. They are fighting on creep. Zerglings going to perhaps get off a surround, take down some units, but there are some force fields now. A couple of units caught on the wrong side there, as the Hydralisks are unable to engage. It looks like it's going to be Hydralisk and Roach season, as all these units are going to fall. There is the GG. Game 1 going to Mana. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed Game 1. Please stay tuned for Game 2.